Jed Hoyer feels good about the Cubs. We tell you about it next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We are your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. All episode long, we're going to be recapping another podcast episode. Cubs president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, joined the Cubs ReKap Podcast last week with David Kaplan and Gordon Wittenmeyer. And they asked Jed Hoyer a bunch of questions. And I thought he gave, for the most part, not only productive, but insightful answers. So, Sam, we're getting back to it here. 4 days this week, Monday through Thursday, and then next week back to 5 days a week indefinitely. Baseball is getting closer.
Yeah, you can feel it in the air. It's about 20 degrees. It felt like I'd like to go hit a couple today outside because
of the sun.
For the first time, the sun was out and it was north of 20 degrees. I felt like it was, time to turn on marquee at 120. So, a lot of college basketball for me right now, which I'll talk about a little later.
Oh, yeah, I meant to ask you that off the air. I apologize.
Yeah, no need to apologize for something like that. But yeah, feeling good and just ready to attack the team. Got to say a little bit. I was having, I would say, like an A to A+ Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
And when I saw Eugenio Suarez sign with the Reds for 1 year, 15, it went down to an A- B+. Free 40+ home runs, Cub killer, exactly what they need in their lineup. Don't understand why another team wouldn't pay up for that. But
are you inferring the Chicago National League team?
No.
Oh, like Seattle or something.
Boston, somebody else. I mean, that's, there's certain players that mean more to certain teams. I mean, Suarez gives that Reds club a boost.
Yeah, he's going to immediately slot in, I would guess, fourth.
Yeah.
Right behind Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, they're going to combine for about 70 homers.
Right now, Fangraphs says Spencer Steer is the 10th man. So they have a deeper team now for sure, and they could definitely hit the ball out of the ballpark, and their offense has always been a question mark. So we'll continue to keep tabs on that. So we're going to go in order of the Hoyer interview on the recap, and the first thing was an overall statement on the team, Sam. This is really the only exact quote I have. I have maybe one or two more. But he said, Jed Hoyer said, quote, "On paper, I think we're a solid team, but we have to figure out different ways we could add to continue to get better," close quote. I was pleased to, think that the person that runs the team thinks he has a solid team. I do as well, but it was nice that the person that runs it confirmed it, though I'm not sure he had to for my sake. The takeaway for me there is the but. I didn't necessarily anticipate that, but for him to be public here as we enter the month of February, and welcome to February, by the way, that they need to figure out different ways to continue to add further reinforces the level of seriousness they do have this year.
Well, they were, if I remember, I listened to the show on, I think Thursday or Friday. If I remember, the numbers that were floated out were like 89 to 99.
Yeah, a couple different models have had that. Well, I guess it would be 88 if you go off FanDuel.
Yeah, and you could just tell
ESPN said their ceiling's 99.
Yeah, I don't think Jed has that in the models. I think in the Jed models and the Cub models, I think there's worlds where it's 87, 88, And I think there's worlds where it's 94, 95. And I think they firmly believe they have a 90 to 92-ish win ball club. And that was the reaction that I got from Jed there. It's so funny. He does such a fantastic job of answering questions without really making many headlines. Like, seriously, I because it's not like he doesn't say anything. He says stuff, but they're all kind of just like,
they don't pop off the page.
Yeah, it's just kind of basic things that I think one would say. Absolutely, Shaw could play in the outfield. All right, that was something. I think for me, what really popped off the audio was, for now the third different outlet, I heard him say this at a presser, somewhere on the radio, and now this, how important Bregman's off the field stuff was in signing him. And when I say off the field stuff, I mean his leadership, how much he wanted to get figure out new players and how they're being taught so he doesn't teach them the wrong thing. And that type of stuff is why I sign up for this. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff that makes
for this show or for being just a fan,
for just living, and
wow.
As a sports fan, when you take pride in leadership and not just what the computer says you're supposed to be, it's something that gets me very happy and excited.
Well, they clearly took a position on that this offseason. They prioritized it, and they got their guy, which instills a lot of confidence in me, especially knowing that this front office is going to be around likely the next 5 years after they got extensions this past summer. But before we get back to Bregman, who was compared by Hoyer to Dustin Pedroia. What do you, as we sit here on February 1st and record, what do you think are the different ways that he's personally trying to add to the team? Do you feel like this team has a clear need left?
Clear? No.
Okay.
But I would say, I say that again.
That's a good offseason then.
Yeah, I'd say marginal, another starting arm. Marginal, a bench piece that they feel confident about, and maybe a reliever that just really puts an exclamation point on things in case Palencia comes out of the gates not throwing the ball well, Harvey has an injury, things like that. But I gotta say, and I'm not the biggest fan in terms of his on-field production so far, but I think Ben Brown will have a say in that, as he's still on the team. Porter Hodge will have a say in that.
Those are two really good names.
Really high ceiling names, right?
Javier Assad, not maybe as a ceiling, but as in the mix.
Yeah, it's a low ceiling when it comes to Assad.
You've never liked Assad this whole career we've had on the show.
Right, don't do that. I have nothing.
Excuse my yelling into this mic.
I have nothing against Javier Assad. He seems like a fantastic guy. Well, you said I don't like him.
I said well, yeah, I think I did say you've been against them.
Yeah, I know. I think he's a 6th or 7th type starter.
Yeah, see, that's what he is, and that's what they think he is too.
Yeah, that's all. So it's not that I don't like him. I was just talking about high ceiling guys, and you went into Assad.
Yes, my mistake. So yeah, I do have.
The Bulls lost by 91 tonight.
No.
Do you want to know what the score is?
They lost by 91.
The final was 134-91. So
that's bad.
11, 12, 40. They lost by what is that? 53? 43?
Hoyer
sorry
compared Bregman to Dustin Pedroia. He also compared Pete Crow-Armstrong to a certain Red Sox slugger. We get into those details and more right after this.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get into the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, And FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. I'd like to pivot over to the college basketball world and just say that the Illinois Fighting Illini went into Lincoln, Nebraska Sunday afternoon, handled their business against former Chicago Bull head coach and player Fred Hoiberg, to the point where you could go on FanDuel. Illinois got some national title buzz. They got some Big Ten title buzz, some Big Ten Player of the Year, Keaton Wagler buzz. Saturday night, 7 p.m. prime time, they'll head to East Lansing, will be one of the biggest games of the season. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. The last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club, which includes access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Cubs, compatible with Apple, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. Go to lockedoncubs.supercast.com or check the link in this episode description. Really nice to hear Jed Hoyer on the Cubs ReKap podcast last week compare Alex Bregman to Dustin Pedroia. And Sam, Pedroia has been up for the Hall of Fame for a couple of years now. I don't think he's gotten close. And Bregman's not Cooperstown bound, though. Although if he handles Wrigley Field really well the next 5 years, he's going to be at least in the Hall of Really Good. But I was pleased to see that comparison, and I got excited when he compared Pete to Big Papi. That's now 2 off seasons in a row. Jed has used his Red Sox history. Last year, he talked about that documentary. He was in the documentary, and I just like seeing those parallels, and I get the sense that you do as well.
Yeah, and I think they're fair comps. I mean, obviously, people are going to say Big Papi. He meant personality-wise, right? Big
personality,
big personalities. I enjoyed the story about Big Papi that he told at that restaurant where Papi just sat in the middle and just did his thing. I think Jed has done a really good job this offseason of not only building through the models, but building through winning and bringing in winning baseball players. I mean, he talked a little bit about Nico and how much he liked Nico. He wasn't going to stand on the table and say he's not trading him, because it just doesn't make any business sense. But you look around the diamond, third base winner, right?
Let's go. Come on, talk about it.
And his whole career, right? Winner, champion.
Shortstop. Tell them in the back. Tell them.
Shortstop, national champion, World Series, #1 overall pick, winner. Nico Hoerner embodies winning. I gotta tell you, Michael Busch, winner. You know what I mean? Hap, veteran, been there, done that. Pete, Seiya, big playoff moments last year. Kelly, veteran. The team is filled with Boyd, Tyone. It's filled with winners, Steele,
because they won last year.
Yeah, and it's just guys that I just think it's a serious group of individuals.
Let's go. Come on.
So maybe I'll do some trade value stuff this week.
Good makeup on this team. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if you're looking for my feedback, but
wasn't. And when I asked you that question, or I'll ask you a question, did you find it all interesting? Jed talking about like Scott Boras, so they just make deals at 1 a.m. Like they really do that.
Yeah, it's frightening.
It was just
that they choose to basically start their workday right around now. We're recording about 8 p.m. Central.
Because I mean,
and that Jed Hoyer, that the Cubs organization.
Shout out to Cap for the interview, by the way.
Right.
They're sitting there, and he's at dinner. How did he describe it?
Well, how about the Matthew Boyd story, Sam?
The Matthew Boyd story was crazy.
Jed Hoyer was only up at the midnight hour because his dogs ran away from home.
Yeah.
And Scott Boras, his number 2 in command, called Jed, kept him in the loop on Boyd. 2 hours later, deal's done. If the dogs don't leave the house, Boyd's not a Cub.
If the dogs don't leave the house, Boyd might still be pitching for the Brewers in the World Series. We don't know who is involved in that. No, the Brewers couldn't afford him. And then the one where he was hesitant to take his kids to the playoff game. He didn't know what was going to be happening. He didn't want to ask polls for tickets again. And then it turns out it was a great decision because in the middle of the game, he's finalizing a Bregman deal.
Yeah, I just pictured Hoyer getting ready that the Friday before, the day before, and getting in the war room for Bregman. They got a heads up like, oh, Bregman's probably going to sign this week. And Jed said he actually felt bad that the deal got done during the Bears game.
I get it.
And then they were both skittish, but obviously it all worked out.
Well, it all worked out because they came back and beat Green Bay.
Right. And DJ Moore gets a lot of flack for the last game, but do people forget the game before?
That was a bad route that he ran.
I know.
No, I do. You run that route professionally. I thought it was really interesting. I think Jed feels good. Gordon Whitmire, the Reds beat writer,
right, who's still somehow co-hosting this show with Cap. He's been covering the Reds for the Cincinnati Enquirer 2023.
Yeah, so he went after Jed with some of the trade deadline stuff, and Jed kind of just confirmed that was just, that their hands were tied, essentially. They wanted a controllable starter. They couldn't get it, but he also did mention, if I remember correctly, he also did make it a point they didn't hit in Game 5 of the playoffs. They didn't hit. That was, think about it, obviously they should have made a move, but what pitching combination were you going to have to where you put up 9 innings of a 0 there?
None of them.
They scored 1 run.
Yeah.
And that sticks with me. And I know it doesn't stick with a lot of people because it's really hard to score in the postseason, but you were in a beautiful hitting neutral environment. You faced McGill to start the game, and then it was a lot of Mizorowski and Patrick, and I would have liked to see him put up 3 or 4. I would have.
Yeah, that's why I don't get bugged too much by it like you do, just because of it's the playoffs, but runs work hard to come by. But I see what you're saying. And
now the counterpoint to that, though, is if they did have another pitcher, maybe Boyd gets an extra day. Game 1 isn't a meltdown, or game 2 isn't a meltdown. So you can play on that all day. But you know what? The time's now. The time's now.
Well, I think that leaves reason for why they did what they did with the bullpen this offseason. Jed Hoyer acknowledged he went out of his comfort zone spending on the bullpen, but he made sure to note that it was in volume by signing 5 relievers to major league deals.
Great note.
And not just 1 or 2 to major league deals. And I have to say, Sam, I don't have a lot of qualms about the bullpen now. I know the last couple of years, opening the year, at least the last 2 years, maybe the last 3, have not been good. 3 of the 8 guys that opened in the bullpen last March, Sam, they were DFA'd during the year.
Yep.
When I see this bullpen on paper, I don't necessarily see that or anywhere even close to that.
It's a great note.
So I appreciated the investment in the volume play there. Is there much upside as there is, especially if you compare the Cabrera move in the rotation? Probably not, but there's a lot of veterans down there that have done the job.
I think he really did confirm that just under him, he's never going to make a major investment on one reliever. I always thought he was pretty transparent about that. Like you said, investing in bulk instead of investing in 1 or 2 guys. And he even said, he goes, our job is to go find the Luke Weavers. Our job is to go find the Brad Kellers.
Oh, that's right.
And I thought that was interesting, and I don't totally disagree with it.
Well, especially given the last couple of years.
Now, the Dodgers tried to do that, but they couldn't, so they just went out and bought Edwin Diaz.
Right, after Tanner Scott had a dreadful year.
They completely missed on Scott.
Right, who the Cubs were at the table with.
They offered
January.
Cubs convention.
Yes. All right, let's keep this rolling. We have Nico Hoerner comments. Also, what are the Cubs going to do with Say and Right? Some Matt Shaw stuff. Wrigley environment, Shota. and why this year coming up is important, especially after making the playoffs last year. Stay tuned. We're back here on Locked On Cubs. We give you all things Cubs every single weekday, 4 weekdays this week, 5 again starting next week. Pitchers and catchers do report February 11th. Full squad workout February 16th. First game, Feb 20. And opening day, if it's not already on your radar, Thursday, March 26th. And if you look at the Nationals roster, that should be a 3-0 start to the season at Wrigley Field. Jed Hoyer called Nico Hoerner the gold standard for loving the game, taking it seriously, trying to get better. Said he made real adjustments last year, especially down the stretch, and said, quote, "I'm excited about Nico in 2026," close quote, which all but puts a stop to the trade rumors. No declarative statements, and I don't think he should, but it's obvious they think really highly of him. He thinks highly of the organization. Did you have anything else there, Sam?
No.
Because we're still seeing a little bit of rumblings about him and Shaw. Speaking of Shaw, Jed Hoyer said he doesn't see why he couldn't play outfield. In fact, he thinks he could do it pretty easily, and that the organization is good with Seiya playing a lot in right field this year. And I am too, but I think, like you said last week, Shaw should be out there as well. And maybe a cameo from Dylan Carlson or something.
Yeah, good cameo, like Ben Stiller with the Coffee and Friends. I think Suzuki
as himself or as a character.
Oh no, as a character.
Yeah, Courtney Cox was in Seinfeld. Speaking of Friends,
I think
one episode.
I think it would be a really good idea to get Shaw as many reps as you can and right, just in case Seiya does struggle out there a bit. But I think Seiya has earned the right, for
right
a little
field.
Bit, for a little. I think he's earned the right field. To have that red carpet rolled out for him a little bit because he played really well.
And the Grammy Awards are tonight.
I think one of the things, though, just really off topic, but I think one of the things I'd like to see the Cubs outfielders do in spring training, Ian, Seiya, whoever it is. I mean, it was really a Tucker problem too. Figure out the communication with Pete out there. Don't be so afraid of him. Pete, make sure, hey guys, anything I can get to, I'm going to call you off. But if you don't hear my voice, you make the call.
Yeah, go hard to the ball.
Seems like it could be like a 10-minute lunch at the cafeteria, just getting that down.
Well, get to the spot during the drills at Sloan.
And Pete just says, "Hey, Ian, I know sometimes I feel like I'm trying to get to everything, but I'm not going to hurt you."
I think they could definitely use some time in a non-pressure environment of the drills and stuff at Sloan.
Yeah,
to get that figured out. Plus dialogue, like you say, at pull up a chair,
some balls hitting the gap, something like that.
Right. I'd like this. Yeah, you're right. And Kyle Tucker didn't have a great
defensive season
footwork out there either. And he throws kind of odd.
Well, I'd even go as far as to say it sometimes when balls were over his head, it didn't look like he was going 100% after him either.
Wow. Jed Hoyer said that the Wrigley Field environment was incredible last year. And Cap did try to lead him on about, well, isn't that all the more reason to go big this offseason, which they did.
Right.
And Jed basically agreed with that. But I do think the revenue played a part in this offseason spending. I do.
I agree.
A lot of fans may say, or we might say that the uncertainty of the sport or a willingness to pay the penalty when the penalties might go away, but they have extra money.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
I thought Jed also with Cap.
It's time to win, man.
When Cap was talking about the CBA stuff, it really does seem like Jed doesn't have much of an idea of what's happening there, and he didn't really feel overly comfortable getting into that, which is interesting because there's two storylines heading into the 2026 Cubs season. There's one, Cubs need to win this division and make a run at this thing. And then there's two is who's going to be on this team next year.
You're telling me. That was one of my premises to this offseason.
But not in a bad way, because they'll get people. It's just is like, hey, is Nico Hoerner a part of the core? Is Ian Happ a part of the core? Is Seiya Suzuki a part of the core? These are all things we're going to know the answer of right around probably Memorial Day. If those guys aren't extended by then,
that they'll be free agents.
Yeah. And then from their perspective, who wants to be a free agent in this sort of unknown situation that you're walking into? There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot at stake about this 91-71 team that they're going to be.
Yeah. If you that's your call right now.
Right now, that's what it feels like. Yeah.
And Jed keeps calling out,
the Brewers are going to go 128 and no.
Jed confirmed that they like to be nimble, especially entering the uncertain times.
He used that word a lot.
And that's nice. But, yeah, I do wonder if, as you're speaking there, Sam, I wonder if, especially in Ian Happ, he would take a 2-year deal just because entering next year, he could just put his feet up. He doesn't have to worry about all the nonsense going on at the negotiating table. And if Nico Hoerner loves it here and they offer – especially if they offer 9 figures, I think that's going to get it done. But even 85 plus, what does that do over a 5 or 6 year deal? So we'll see. And Hoyer was also complimentary of Shota, which you've intimated before as well. And I'm excited to see him out there too.
I thought it was a good interview overall. And it seems, let me tell you this. It seems like a guy that's very comfortable right now, Jed Hoyer. I think he likes the work that he's doing. I think he's very comfortable. I think he'd rest a little bit easier at night with maybe one more starter, just one more, just in case. Jackson Wiggins, is he ready to go? Where does he make on the trade value scale? My mind's spinning here.
Well, I think they are going to get a starter.
And is that your first Bears gear since the loss, or?
Yeah, my first time appearing on the show. Yeah.
Iowa will be a 7th seed.
Okay, well, at least they're going to make it. Yeah. First time since, I believe, 23.
No, I told you there'll be a tournament team.
Of course, the 22 season was that disastrous loss to Richmond, which was the last season that I watched full time.
Yeah, the Spiders.
Thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen of the day. For those of you on video, we send you the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On MLB. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.